It strikes me as so stupid. It's a sort of weird embargo that whatever problem you might have is so minor and inconsequential and singular that punishing everybody else and keeping them from being able to sell more product feels like a huge overcorrection.
This goes out to the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It's hard and it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
While it may be Friday that we're recording this very podcast, I would like to take us back in time just a little bit to Tuesday.
This Tuesday, past week.
This Tuesday, this most recent Tuesday. And Tuesday, as everyone knows, is the day that we get the majority of our new comic books for the week. Everything but...
Yeah, all the non-DC stuff for the week.
Yeah. So we are a very lucky city because we can get our book, we can go pick them up at an Expeditors in Elk Grove Village. And that's like 20 miles away. That is nothing. Like, these... Giadis Wilson has locations around the globe, but it's not that convenient to a lot of people. And we're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky that Challengers is right by highway. I mean, by design. Like, we did
true.
that.
Yeah, I mean, we were already kind of in areas. I mean, it's not like we had originally, lived and worked in, like, Peoria and then went, like, we've got to move closer to Wilson's. It's mostly just that, like, we've, in our careers as comics retailers, both, self-employed and otherwise, we've had the ability to be close to distribution hubs.
Yeah. Different ones.
And we definitely did not want to give that up.
Whether it be Capital City or Diamond doesn't have an office out here, but, they have an Expediter.
Yep.
So it's a normal routine on a Tuesday morning to get up and you go to the store, I go to Elk Grove Village and get the books.
Mm-hmm. Although sometimes if one of us is injured, you go to the store and I go to Elk Grove Village.
Or sometimes if one of us is injured, you go get the books and go to the store.
It's true.
Or, in this weirdo timeline from like a year ago, we would both get up super early.
So early.
And go to the Expeditors, and then you get dropped off at a store, and I would go to another store.
2 stores? That doesn't make sense.
No, that's...
double check the count on that.
It's an alternate reality.
I'll check the count on that.
Let me do it. 1. Nope, it's just 1.
Yeah, just the 1 store.
So anyway, barring any... doctor appointments or things we can't get out of. Like, we don't schedule things on Tuesdays because that is a very busy day. Not just getting the books, but checking them in, receiving them in the system, pulling the subscribers' books.
Although, don't you yearly have like an optometrist appointment that is always on Tuesday?
It wasn't always on Tuesday, but now it's almost always on Tuesday.
It's
like
so
the
weird.
last 2 or 3 have been on Tuesdays.
I think you said the last one that you'd went to when you'd schedule it was Wednesday, and then they like made it Tuesday or something.
Yeah, I mean, this is I need a thorough. This is way off topic, but I need a very thorough eye exam every year, and it takes up to 3 hours to perform. And
they take both eyeballs out, or just one at a time?
One at a time,
Okay,
but both
fair.
of them, just not together.
Okay.
So I always try to schedule it on better days, and I swear to God, every single time I've scheduled, because as I'm leaving, let me schedule next year's, and it's always like October, November.
Right.
So I schedule a year in advance, and inevitably, when it comes up the next year, they've changed it and only tell me last minute.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always at an inconvenient time.
Yeah.
And this year, they split it up into 2 appointments. One of them was a Friday very early, but I'm like, oh no, I need to let Gina know she may need to open. I may not be there. It was a 10-minute appointment. I was out of there in
that one was 10
no
minutes.
time. Yeah. But last week's was the 3-hour one.
So...
So,
But anyway, yeah, Tuesdays, we definitely, it is about picking up the books. That is the main important, almost sole task that we need to do.
This Tuesday morning, my car started, shuttered, and died. And then started again, and it was just going, juk, 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 juk. And I'm like, well, shit, we don't have much of a choice. Let's risk it.
Yeah, I mean, the brief thought was, oh, maybe it's just cold, or maybe it hasn't been started in a little while, and when we get it up to speed, all of it'll shake out, that blind hope you have.
So there is also a speed bump in the alley right at the start of the garage. So car gets over the speed bump and dies. Halfway over the speed bump.
Yeah, car gets
two tires.
2 of 4 tires over the speed bump.
So it's like, all right, well, this car is dead. It's not starting. We have to get it back into the garage. And getting it over the speed bump, even in neutral, was annoying. Because, when you have power steering and the power is not on, steering is not a very easy thing. And long story short, it took a lot of time to get the car into the garage. Then once it was in the garage, it was on such a bad angle, it had to be repositioned so the other people that use that garage have access to it.
Yeah, could actually get their car in.
So then it became, okay, we're already late to the store. We don't have a car. That's okay. Dal has a Zipcar account.
I do, yeah. I have, as someone who moved to the city 9 years ago, I've maintained a Zipcar account because I sold my car and I moved to the city because I did not want to worry about my car being destroyed by city streets or street parking or a million other things that makes owning a car in the city maybe not the thing you love the most about living in the city. And most of what I can do via CTA or walking around. And Patrick has a car, so that's, the things that I would need a car for, I will have access to one. But occasionally I need to go into the suburbs or use a car when Patrick's using a car. So it's like, okay, well, I should have a Zipcar just for emergencies, which this was.
Sure.
They had just charged me my yearly membership.
And I don't remember there being a member. Like, I was a member of Zipcar when we first moved in the city. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was just a pay-as-you-go type of deal.
It's both. There is both a membership to maintain an open account, and then you pay as you go.
Okay, I don't remember.
If you never use your Zipcar account over the year, you still pay them $70.
Yeah, okay.
Or you can pay more if you don't want to have to pay damage waivers when you rent a car, which I don't include in my membership because I don't use it often enough to have to worry about that.
Okay.
If I rented a car like every month or every couple weeks, I would probably bump up my membership level to end up paying less over time. But since I'll only use it like 2 or 3 times a year, pay as I go.
And there's a Zipcar area about a block away from us. And,
not too far.
So we hoof it over there.
Well, basically, I bring up the app on my phone, and I'm having problems logging into my account. It's doing a weird thing where it's saying, like, hey, call us. My driver's license had just renewed, and because I don't use Zipcar that much, I had not
updated
it in the app. So it had expired. So I'm like, okay, well, I have my license on me. I'll just log into the app and add it on. Come to find out, after we walk over to the Zipcar and we're standing next to it, and I still can't book a trip.
And it started raining.
And it's raining, and it's cold. And we're already late to get to the store and have no idea how we're going to pick up the books. And I'm on the phone with Zipcar, and they're basically telling me that, like, I need to be at, like, a computer, not just on my phone, not on the mobile app or not on a mobile website. I have to be at a computer to be able to update my driver's license. I can't just tell them over the phone what the new driver's license number is. And I can't do it through the app because the app won't let me log in because I don't have a valid driver's license attached to that account. Same thing for the mobile website. It's like, I am literally standing next to a car that I need to use right now in the rain. I can't. And they just, the answer was just, this is what you have to do. Goodbye. So we were not able to get a Zipcar.
Well, at that point, I said, I'm just going to go to Enterprise. You keep working on this. And if you happen to get it working, stop me before I rent a car.
Right. So, 5 or 6 minutes later, I was off the phone with Zipcar and I was walking to the store. And
I want to point out that in that time, we did call Kent. And admittedly, 11 a.m. is early to call Kent, and we know that. Mm-hmm. But, it was emergency.
It was.
And he did answer, which is, at that point of the day, 50-50 chance, really. And I'm like, hey, man, it's kind of an emergency. Can you either go get the books or come get me, and I'll go with you to get the books?
Yeah, we just need a car.
And he was still a little bit disoriented from just waking up, so he said, let me get back to you. So, fine. So he gets back to me and says, I have to be back in the city by 2:30, which wouldn't have been a problem, so I can come get you in like an hour. And I'm like, an hour's too long.
Yeah.
So it's like, thanks, but never mind. So I make it to Enterprise. I call you and say, hey, I'm here. And you're like, go ahead and rent a car because you were already at the store.
Right.
So rent a car, go get the books. And it was, at that point, you know, in a pandemic, we're lucky that Enterprise even had a car.
True.
Because they expect everything to be reserved and scheduled ahead of time.
Right.
And they don't let anybody in, so I had to stand outside the whole time. And they came out to me with their little tablets.
They didn't even let one person in?
No.
Wow, okay.
Like, it said, we only let 2 people in at a time, but the door was locked.
Oh, wow.
And they came out the long way to get me.
Wow.
And it's funny, I had looked on the website, and it looked like I could have I tried to reserve a Ford Escape, but I didn't go through with it because I didn't know if I was going to need to or not.
Sure.
So I got there, and they're like, I think we have a car. And it was, I forget what it was, but it was just like a small sedan.
Right.
And fine, I will take any car. Not super comfortable for me to get into with my size and my leg being what it is.
Right.
Fine, it worked out. Fine. It was a lot more money than we planned to spend.
Sure.
So we got the books. Later than normal. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, it's like, hey, Dal, why don't you unpack? You're way faster than I am. And I got to go return this car.
Sure. And I mean, you also had to talk to your dealership about your car.
Yeah.
Which was like, I would rather you be doing that than unpacking stuff.
So, as we've talked about my car on the podcast before, I have a mechanic and I have a dealership. And the mechanic is who I use for big things, important things. The dealer is who I use for oil changes.
Routine maintenance.
Tune-ups, yeah. Stuff like, stuff where I don't think they're going to overcharge me and they can't screw it up. But I know that Jason over at Juan's Auto Works will do it right and be less expensive.
Yeah, like you will occasionally have like a certain checkup at the dealership and they'll go, here's what's wrong. And you're like, great. And you take it to Juan's.
Yeah, exactly. But this time I'm like, you know what? My car is under warranty. So I'm going to have it towed to the dealer. And because it's under warranty, Ford pays for the tow. I'm like,
great.
All right, fantastic. So we'll do that. But that would be the next day. So I just want to point out that it is uncharacteristic of me to let that go for a day and not dwell on it and not let it bother me. Like, normally it'd be like, my car's messed up, I gotta fix the car. The car was like, all right, it'll be taken care of tomorrow, let it go. Because we had too much other stuff to deal with.
It's true.
It was too big of a day to worry about.
Yeah.
So, Wednesday morning, I called their tow service. They had to find somebody who could do it. I had to describe multiple times where the car was, what noises it was making, how they could get it. And at that point, it took long enough that Dal had to go open the store while I waited for the tow truck. And it was a massive flatbed truck, not just you have an image of your tow truck in your head.
Sure.
It's not that. It was a long, flat thing where they had to winch it up and drag it up.
Because, I mean, like, our alleyway, where the car and the garage are, like, the tow truck is at a right angle to that.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to see, like, how do you even, do you just neutral and they just pull it out into the alley and then they turn it? How do they even get it on?
Oh, you're half right. Neutral and he and I push it out into the alley.
Oof.
Yeah, so I got to push it out again.
Oh, rough.
Yeah.
Should have just left it there the day before.
Nobody uses that alley. It's fine.
They go around.
So they take it. It goes to the dealer. A quick side note. Back in May when I was hurt, there was a problem with a tire. Dal must have messed it up somehow. He's the one using my car back then.
Typical.
So generously, on the Wednesday, I came back to the store after the injury for my first half day. My sister and brother-in-law came down, took the car to the dealer to have the tire looked at. So they waited while they were there, and while they were there, they were like, oh, we're going to roam around this little area, not realizing, it's Chicago in a pandemic, everything is closed.
Sure.
But my sister gave the dealer her cell number to let her know when the car was ready.
Oh.
So now
Now,
my sister gets all of those calls and updates, and she sent me a text. So basically, when the car got to the dealer on a Wednesday morning, I got a call from them on my cell phone, right?
it's showing they have your
It
number.
said, hey, we got your car. We probably can't get to it today. We'll probably get to it Friday, but it's here. Fine. I got a text from my sister saying, hey, Ford sent me this. Like, hey, we got your car.
Uh-huh.
So I texted them, like, give me that number. So I texted that number. Turns out I already had it. I texted back and said, hey, this is Patrick Brower. This is my cell phone number. Please make sure to only contact this number. They texted and called multiple times to my sister
Great.
through this whole thing.
Great.
So they didn't get to look at it until this morning.
Sure.
They texted me early this morning to say, here's what the damage is. It is not covered under warranty.
Great.
Do you want us to fix it? And I thought, if I say no, I'm going to have to pay to have it
You
towed
definitely are.
I have to schedule a tow truck,
Yep.
pay it to get towed from the dealer down to Jason's,
Right.
or at Jason at Juan's. And any difference in cost would have been eaten up probably by the tow.
Yep.
So I'm like, all right, go ahead and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any guesses as to what was wrong with the car?
Well, there was a suspicion that there was a living creature that had made a home inside of your car, and that might have dislodged things or made things inoperable.
So when I called them, this is the notes they took. Checked and verified, vehicle stalls when starting. Customer states that service engine light is on and vehicle stalls. I mean, that's not quite what I said, but fine, whatever. So here's all they plugged in things and they checked this, blah, 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 blah. Found 3 circuit codes, coil and injector codes went off saying, hey, it's your, these coils
Okay.
that are messed up. 2 ignition coils and 1 injector harness connector.
Okay.
What caused all that? Rodent damage.
Rodent damage. Something was living inside your engine.
Rats chewed through the wires in my car
Damn.
and made it not go. They are specifically called ignition coil pigtails and
Rats love pigs.
injector
so, yeah.
pigtail. Can you guess what it cost to fix my car?
I have no idea, but there's a bunch of numbers on that page.
Oh, there sure are. I'll be honest. When I also had him do an oil change.
Uh-huh.
So why don't you just guess a number?
$400.
A nice round number. Just guess a right.
$700.
$1,000.
1,000 American dollars.
Yeah, the actual full number
Thank
is
you, rats.
$992.77.
And then you just tip them the $8 or whatever.
No, absolutely not. So I had said, "What is your advice for dealing with this in the future?" Because
We're in Chicago.
Yeah.
There's going to be more
there's rats everywhere, and it isn't even that cold out now.
Yeah.
So I texted that to them. They answered my sister and said, "I don't know, mothballs."
Inside the car.
Yeah,
Inside the hot engine.
yeah. Well, not all the engine is hot. So I look online, and there are many different products made to keep rats out of cars.
Uh-huh.
One of them is so easy. It is just this giant cover you wrap your whole car in, and it seals off every end of it.
Perfect. What could go
Yeah,
wrong?
that sounds completely... who's that kind of time?
Yeah.
Another one is a light and sound emitter that you wire into the battery and somehow install inside the engine. So when the car's running, or even when it's not, it's taking just a tiny bit of juice off the battery to all these lights and all these ultrasonic sounds that we can't hear, but it'll drive rats away.
Uh-huh.
But there are a bunch of products that are rodent repellent sprays, like a peppermint or a thing that they wouldn't want to live by, and you can spray your engine down with that.
Okay.
You need to spray it down like every day for a week, and then every couple of weeks later. Like, build it up and then keep it maintained.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, fine. I stopped at AutoZone on the way home.
What if you just installed a cat inside your engine?
I mean, who's to say the cat wouldn't start chewing stuff? Cats start scratching
shit.
everywhere.
What if you installed a dog as well then?
Then there's no room for the cat.
What if they were small dogs and small cats?
Small dogs
I feel like
dogs.
you're just automatically saying no, and we're not really workshopping this, and that just feels insulting.
Oh, you
That's
mean
fine.
like the way you shit all over my pizzas last week?
I shit all over your pizzas?
The Marvel pizzas?
Oh, no, you were just wrong. That
Oh,
was
I
a
see.
different thing.
I see. So I stopped at AutoZone. They have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't sell anything like it.
What's a rat even?
But
you want a pet store, sir.
so I was talking to one person at checkout, and they checked with the store manager or whatever.
Yeah.
But as I'm going to leave, the guy from the other checkout goes, "Hey man, mothballs. Just put I can put mothballs in the engine. Yeah, just don't put them anywhere where they're hot. It'll keep away all the critters. It doesn't matter if it's rats, skunks, cats, you name it."
Okay. So just right in the fuel line is where you put them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So he's like, they got them at Family Dollar or Dollar General just on the block. So right across the street is a Walgreens. Mm-hmm. So I stopped and bought mothballs, and the ones I got it's 2 pouches. So
Okay.
you're not like it's a bunch of mothballs in 2 like pouches.
Okay.
So I figured, where's the best place to put these mothballs? Exactly where the rat built a nest, because that is not going to get too hot.
Sure. And you know where the nest is because you were pulling it apart Tuesday morning.
Yeah. So I interwove it through the new wires, and hopefully that'll do it. And I figured, it's because the nest was the insulation they took from the tire well
Right.
and just shredded it and pulled it up.
Sure.
So that stuff never burned.
That's true. And I mean, if we're being honest, how long have you been parked in the exact same spot and never had this happen?
Years.
So the odds of it happening again it's not like this is like it happened day one after you moved in and then all of a sudden
Right.
it's constantly happening. Like, it's more likely it'll happen again because, rats clearly found your car at some point. But rats don't live that long, and it's not like they're going to like spread it around like, by the way, there's that car, you want to check it out.
Well, they also kind of mark it with their scent, so they know where to go back to.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's assuming that the rat comes back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As I told the story to people today, 2 people were like, "Yeah, that happened to me."
It sucks.
So anyway, I've got
This is why I got rid of my car and I moved to the city.
I've got mothballs interwoven at the distributor cap area, and I will then order some of this spray stuff online since I can't find it locally. And then because the idea of having the mothballs there kind of unnerves me a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
What if the package breaks? What if they start rolling everywhere?
Sure. I mean, you're putting a foreign substance inside your car.
And
I
also,
would not feel great about that.
What if they just smell so strong that it just comes into the car all along?
That'd be a bummer.
Yeah.
I guess in retrospect, did you leave the cheese that I had put near your carburetor in there, or did you take it out?
I'm glad you can joke about this.
Mm.
Basically, any money we made today went right to that car.
Yeah. I mean, that's happened before, though.
Yeah, but that sucks.
It does suck.
It's not even the cost of doing
crazy
business.
about
It's
it.
just the cost of living in a big city.
Yeah, but pretty much, like I said, that's the reason why when Challengers has to pay for one car, I would not prefer it pay for 2 cars because
Yeah.
I know what it costs to keep a car in the city, and I don't feel comfortable adding to that bill.
At least I got my car back.
It's true. Congrats, dude.
So that is so we needed just an extra I'm not even do the numbers, just how much extra money we spent to get the books in people's hands this
Yeah,
week.
a lot.
This week, indeed. So it was Black Friday today, and we only had a few people ask what we're doing, and my standard response. And look, I know a lot of stores are doing Black Friday sales, and a lot of comic stores are.
I got a billion emails to do.
And, yeah, me too. And that's fine for them, but my response was this. We feel it would be irresponsible to hold an event that would bring a lot of people into the store at the same time during a pandemic.
Sure.
Now, there are stores that were closed to the public and were doing scheduled times where you're like, oh, I'm going to come in, I have this 20-minute block.
Right.
And then it's just you and maybe one other person in the store the whole time.
You're reserving slots more than just like showing up.
And I respect that and I appreciate that, but we weren't doing anything that's going to make a lot of people want to come in. Yeah. And there were multiple times today where we're like, all right, we're at the limit. No one else can come in. But it's like, oh, it's a family of 3 just left. Fine.
Yeah. I've mentioned that to people before, that even when we get families coming in, like, most people don't spend that long in the store anymore. So, you know, if you've got 4 people who are in shopping for their books, 3 of them will be out of the store in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not, you don't have that thing of like, oh, everyone's here for 45 minutes, so if you get a person coming in every 5 minutes, you're screwed.
Is everybody clusters still. And I had to say to
That
people
can be a
today,
problem.
please respect social distancing. And it came off a little bit abrupt, but when people just are like clogging the counter area, it's like, hey, back up.
Yep.
I'm safe back here behind my little plastic shield.
Space it
Everybody else isn't.
Space it out.
Back it up. And we don't have the things on the floor because, well, we don't want to put adhesive on the carpet. And also, it's not like we have aisles you go up and down. There's...
Yeah, and you know, aside from a little bit Wednesday morning, we usually don't have more than, like, you know, 2 or 3 people at the most in line.
Yeah.
Bunch of people in line on Wednesday morning, though.
You mean Wednesdays in general, or specifically
This
week?
past Wednesday morning, yeah.
I wouldn't know.
That's why I'm mentioning it.
I was
Where were you?
I was out doing something with
Something
a car.
in your car?
No, I was out rat hunting.
Ooh, wow.
If
Thank you.
If you just have a warm
you.
car, it draws it to them.
That's true.
Draws
You
it
need
them.
to put those Christmas pops out.
I haven't really decorated yet.
You haven't?
Not really.
Okay.
What have I done?
The stockings are hung by
Yeah.
the chimney with care.
Mhm.
The Christmas tree light is on. The decorative tree is
No,
turned on.
you can say Christmas tree at this time of the year.
because you did turn the Christmas lights on.
Well, what makes it Christmassy is added in color lights, which I haven't done yet.
Oh, okay.
So that's less of...
Your advent calendar is set up and ready for use.
Yeah, I've cleaned off areas where things will go.
Okay, but you're aware of those. You're aware of those 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that they'll make it out.
Really? They're explicitly Christmas DC pops.
I don't have room for everything.
Okay.
And like we're not doing a tree at the store this year.
No.
We don't have room for it.
No, we don't.
You know where the tree would have to go? On top of the bookshelves in the main store.
I would have put them on top of the bookshelves and sidekicks.
Those are busy.
On top of the bookshelves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's turtles there now.
Okay, cool.
Where are those turtles going to go?
The sewer?
Oh, man. I hadn't thought of that. Luke brought up a good point today. I haven't thought of a plan for how to unpack in the new layout.
No, you have not.
Yeah.
Folding tables. Just folding tables. There's plenty of room for
Yeah,
them.
I mean, that's what it'll have to be.
That's what you've done before.
So we're getting ahead of ourselves, and that was one of the topics we were going to get to. And perhaps you might have seen this already on our social medias. Oh, man, I got a great segue for the next thing, too. That just came to me.
I hope you remember
We spent, and it's no surprise, we were telling people all day Thanksgiving and most of the day all day Wednesday before Thanksgiving and on Thanksgiving. We spent Thanksgiving working extra long at the store, and we finally enacted that Sidekicks layout that we mentioned a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was actually like faster than we thought it was, because we're going to put this off to sometime after the first of the year, you said.
Yeah, I think originally it didn't feel like we were in like a huge rush, and then you were like, well, we could do it on Thanksgiving because the store's closed, and we're only really closed 2 days out of the year, and that's Thanksgiving and Christmas. And Thanksgiving this year, you would normally be doing stuff with your family, but because of, social distancing and a lot of the recommendations from the CDC, you were like, you were not going to be doing that.
Yeah.
So suddenly we both had Thanksgiving Thursday free.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, we should take advantage of both of us having time and the store being completely closed, because this is a project that's going to be very messy.
Disruptive, I would say.
We needed so much floor space to pull things apart and put things back together and literally build things. So the idea was, it's probably better if we do it on Thanksgiving instead of having to wait until sometime in 2021 and then, probably needing to do it after hours some night. And it took 6 hours. So, I would rather not work a full day and then spend 6 to 7 hours afterwards doing all of this construction stuff. So it felt smart to do it on Thanksgiving.
And we had done a lot of prep work ahead of time, not just buying the shelves we needed, but since we had the idea to redo the back issue Calyx shelves that we had just made to be able to accommodate 3 boxes per shelf rather than 2, we took the advantage of needing buying new Calyx shelves for Sidekicks, and then building those to fit the back issues and take the back issue shelves over to sidekicks.
Yep.
But they needed to be modified because we needed to put braces behind them so people can't just push books off.
Right.
And technically, we didn't have to do that because the shelves would have been back to back, so they would have pushed it onto another shelf.
Right.
Or the end cap shelves would have been flush to a flat surface,
Right.
so they couldn't do it. But for whatever else we have, for whatever other layout we do, like these are good
this is
for
future-proofing.
Yeah. We still need to paint the edges, the visible edges of the end cap shelves
Oh, sure.
for the cross beam. So, like, all that wood was measured and cut ahead of time and nailed, like pre-nails. The nail spacing was set up. And since we did do one test triple shelf back issue Cadillacs ahead of time, I had an idea of how that was going to work and what kind of a setup we needed. So all the tools were bought ahead of time, so we didn't have to waste any time. The irony is that we got to use a bunch of the brackets that were left over from the first round because I thought we didn't have any. So Drew Triner, who was helping us build, had to spend some of that time going to, because I couldn't go, going to Home Depot to buy more brackets. He had to go to multiple Home Depots.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 weeks later, I found the ones that I'd bought. They were back there all along.
Yeah, I think they had come in when you were out of the store because of your injury.
Yeah.
And I had just put them someplace, and you had never realized they came in, and I didn't call it out. I don't think I knew what they were at the time, or what they were for. So yeah, it slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, but I mean, we wound up using them, and
For
we still
sure,
needed
yeah.
more, but we bought them ahead of time, and we figured, you know what, this is a bigger job than just the two of us, so we asked 3 other challengers to help us out, and last minute, one of them canceled. One of them told us he was going to be late all along, but I'll be honest, he wasn't as late as I expected,
It's true.
and then he left early.
A little bit early, yeah.
Well, like an hour early. It's
I mean,
fine.
he had a commitment for Thanksgiving, and I get that,
I'm not.
and that's totally
and
fine.
look, as much as I enjoy ragging on this person who may or may not be named Kent,
Weirdly, not as much as I do.
he does so much for us.
It's true.
Yeah, he does more for the store than most of our people,
Yeah.
and he's happy to do it. And all we do is give him shit for not doing enough.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's not like Kent is 100% reliable, but Kent is 80% reliable, and that's pretty good.
Yeah, but we also ask him to do stuff kind of more often than other people.
Yeah, that's why I'm counting in that.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And the
100% reliable would be like, man, if you need something done, you call Kent, he's going to make it happen. It's like,
Sure.
No, I mean, 4 out of 5 times he'll probably say yes,
like
but that
Tuesday.
5th time is like, I just can't.
Tuesday
or,
he would have helped us, but on his terms, not ours.
Or just, you can't really... If we needed something last minute done at 3 in the afternoon, he could probably be on top of it.
Yeah.
But if we need something last minute done at 11 a.m., it's not going to happen. It's going to happen afternoon at the
Well,
earliest.
I mean, it is if he knows ahead of time.
well, that's the thing. When I say last minute,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
if
you're
you
right,
just
you're
call
right.
him up,
You're right.
you call him before noon, it's probably not going to happen.
Kent's argument, which did nothing for me,
It never does.
was-
All of his arguments in favor of why he couldn't do something are just like, dude, you're digging yourself in deeper. Don't do it.
was Thanksgiving is the one day where he doesn't have a commitment. Like how I said, we shouldn't shit on Kent. He does so much for us. Let me shit on Kent some more.
Uh-huh.
Thanksgiving is the one day where he doesn't have to have a commitment to this store.
Uh-huh.
And here he is on that day still helping us out.
Yeah.
To which I said, out of a month, you have 4 days.
In an entire year, you have 51 days of commitments. And that's... So the working the 52nd day is like, you guys, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
So much more.
Pretty funny.
And
Pretty
I
funny
was
way of
even
looking
like,
at things.
hey, I'm going to need somebody this Saturday. Could you... Nope.
Nope.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. But no, Dallas, seriously, we're lucky to have him.
We are. I do appreciate Kent, and I even allowed myself to be the good cop to your bad cop as you guys were having arguments, family-style arguments about your general recriminations and disappointments in one another, which I did appreciate happening around me because I don't usually get that for Thanksgiving. I don't get that sort of, like, airing of grievances, so it was pretty nice to be around that. But I did tell him that I appreciated him coming in, and I appreciate all the work he did, and I appreciated him coming in on Thanksgiving to do that.
The one day he doesn't have an obligation to us.
He threw away his Thanksgiving.
But the best part of it being an empty store was that we could really raise our voices for this argument.
Really could. It was great.
Yeah.
The best thing is that I don't know if it's because he's feeling attacked, but when Kent is yelling, his voice not only gets louder, but it gets so much higher.
True, and it almost sounds like he's laughing as he's yelling.
Because he's not yelling, he's yelling! And it's like, it's really funny to me. It's very funny. Kent was not our only helper, though. We also had Samantha Challenger.
Yeah, Samantha Challenger, who helped you out a couple months ago in an inventory.
She has been somebody who has not been able to work a regular schedule, but told us early on that if we needed someone for special projects, after hours things, she'd be willing to do it. And sure enough, the couple times that we've said, like, hey, how about this? She's been like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Samantha was there the entire time. She helped us.
She got there before we did.
And at one point, you thought she didn't have a key to the trash room, which she didn't.
She didn't.
So, like, when you saw that she was in the store, my thought was like, oh, Kent probably got her and let her in. And you laughed. And sure enough, Kent had not gotten there yet and would not get there for another 45 minutes. But what had happened was that the trash room, which had a lock installed on it to prevent things from the hallway getting stolen, was not locked. Which means someone had come in through the trash room and then not relocked it. So
or thrown something out.
So that was great.
Yep. Whole purpose of that whole door.
Yep.
That whole lock.
Good security.
Working with Sam was great because I'd already had a plan of how to do it, but having a second pair of hands, and we've worked together for longer than Challengers has been a thing. So she's really good at seeing what I'm doing and then anticipating what I'm going to need. Mm-hmm. And so she was not even asking, she was just doing.
Cool.
And it made it go a lot faster. Even 6 hours is a lot faster.
It was. It's so without breaking out too much into the exact steps of everything we did, a lot of the last hour was just trying to figure out where things would go that kind of didn't have a space in the new configuration.
Like t-shirts.
Like t-shirts and some boxes and things like that, where it's like, oh, there is no extra room, so we have to find a new place for this to live, at least temporarily.
So, I mean,
that took
to jump in, we could have made this stuff fit, but it no longer fits with the visual aesthetic of what we want Sidekicks to be.
Yeah, so let's get into that a little bit.
And it kind of always didn't.
So the two main projects that we're working on were the back issues, which needed new shelving, but basically were the exact same.
Yeah.
Same style of shelves, same place in the store, same boxes, same everything.
Same number of shelves,
just 3 boxes per level instead of 2.
Yeah.
But the bulk of the work that was being done was in Sidekicks. That was where we were really moving things around and looking at some different things. And for me, one of the things that I wanted out of the Sidekicks redesign, because Patrick really came to me with, like, here's the types of shelves I want to use, here's how I want to open the room up, here's where I think things will go. And we tweaked that a bit, but one of the things that I really wanted from it was there had been things that sort of accumulated in that room over the years.
Just because, we've got space in Sidekicks, put it there.
Yeah, there was kind of nowhere else for it. Things like basically all the prints. So not just the Chris Giarrusso ones that are the mini Marvel style stuff that from the front windows, but also like the prints that Sarah Beacon had done off of her horror movie stuff.
As well as her kitchen stuff and some Doctor Who illustrations.
Yeah, and I mean, we still have, I think, in that room, the...
Cursed Pirate Girl.
Well, Cursed Pirate Girl, because Cursed Pirate Girl is in that room.
It's in that room, sure.
But some of the other prints and stuff...
we had the Jack Kirby prints, we had the Beardo print.
Yeah, it's just some other stuff where it's like this...
Stephanie Meited's prints.
This doesn't, like, a Stephanie Meited Jessica Jones print is like, I don't know if this is the right room for this. But it was just, that was the shelf where the prints were. And to me, worse was all the t-shirts that were in there, because to Patrick, he doesn't remember hearing this a lot, but I got a lot of people who would poke their head out of Sidekicks and go, those t-shirts, are those kid sizes? And I'd have to say, no, they're adult sizes. And they'd be a little disappointed, and it seemed like adults weren't really looking for shirts in there. Like, we don't sell t-shirts that often. So it was something that, to my mind, was in that room that really shouldn't be there, that was causing more confusion than it was sales. So those were the two things that I'm like, I kind of don't want these to be in the room anymore. And when we did redesign everything and we're putting things up in new places, because of how much Sidekicks is built around levels that kids can reach, top shelf stuff, it doesn't really make any sense to put products up there that are going to be like, we're not going to put the Bone graphic novels up on a top shelf. That's
right.
It doesn't make any sense. So something has to go up there, but at the same time, for me, it works a little better if it's decorative, where you could buy it, but it doesn't really have to be sold. So, like, the Tom Kelly Hello Kitty paintings are up there now, the Curse Pirate Girl framed print, and then some of, like, the Dogman plushes and things like that are on some of the top shelves.
And we'd gotten rid of, we still have a Harry Potter broom. We took that down.
Yeah.
A Wonder Woman cape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still had one of those left.
Yeah. And there are still the tiny paintings.
The Katie Cook paintings.
The Katie Cook tiny paintings. And then a portfolio of Lucy Knisley's old con prints.
Yeah. Which I was actually surprised to see those in there. Not the Katie Cook ones, but the... Because the Katie Cook ones are on the door as well.
It's true, yeah. And I think they fit that room pretty well. Yeah, the Harry Potter ones there barely even any Harry Potter ones left at this point. It's a lot of, like,
there's nothing wrong with anything that Lucy has.
Yeah, tonally they don't, like, disrupt the room in the way that some of the other stuff did. But, yeah, they may not stay there long term. That was just a thing where, certainly by the end of that last hour, it was like, I just want to put this someplace so I can go get dinner.
I mean,
because it's 6 o'clock at night. I haven't eaten in 7 hours. I've worked my ass off. We're all, like, worn out.
Oh, I was dying. I mean,
yeah,
because walking there and then doing all that labor and walking home, wiped me out. Remember Wednesday night I took one of the big red chairs down. You're like, what are you doing that for? I'm like, so I can sit in it Thursday when I take breaks. There were no breaks.
There were no breaks.
Then it's like, oh, I got to put this back up there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. How I slowed you down so much on that walk home.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh man.
I didn't get my exercise circle filled, but that's okay.
How did you not get it filled from that day? I got mine filled before we left the store.
Because it's about sustained raised heart rate. So, like, you need exercise. You need to be, like,
walking
fast or running or jogging. I got my... It's not steps on the Apple Watch. It's like...
movement?
It's like a movement circle. So it's like calories burned. I got it by 3 or 4 o'clock. And that was after getting up at, like, 10 in the morning. After
we got home and I was at 13,000 steps, I just took it off and let it charge.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to record more. That's fine.
Nope.
That's fine.
But the process of doing sidekicks was interesting. We went into it with at least I did, with an idea of kind of how I wanted things to go. Like we had already talked about the red bookshelves being against the far wall, so that when you walk into sidekicks, you can see them right away. And then putting the single issue comics on the 2 shelves above that. And then using, like, in my mind, what it was going to be was the stuff that was going to be in the cubes, the white Kallax shelves, was going to be a lot of more series stuff. Like, we had things where, like, the Marvel graphic novels that have been coming out recently, where it's the nice, thick $13 compilations of Marvel comics featuring Ms. Marvel or Ironheart or Spider-Gwen. Those are great, and I love those, and we want those to be prominent, but the problem was they were taking up a lot of wall space, because each of those books is like a spot. You can fit, like, 4 books on a shelf, but each series was having multiple books now, and they were coming out more and more often, and we're kind of running out of space. And that's the same thing for that as for, Bone, which needs an entire series of 3 shelves, and Amulet, and all the Raina stuff, and, on and on. So that stuff was going to go on the white Kallax shelves, because you can do those spine out. Maybe you put one on a face out display so people know what they're looking at. But then, they can all look real nice on a row together. So the white Kallax ones were going to be more series or really specific theme stuff. So you could have, all the Marvel stuff, and then all the DC stuff, and then all, like, the kind of fantasy adventure oriented stuff, like Bone,
dragons,
and Amulet,
or witches, or
supernatural stuff, and then, like, the sciencey stuff, and then the Dogman style, very young reader, humor oriented stuff. And then the stuff that would go on the walls would be more single volumes, brand new stuff, isolated stories, stuff where you're not necessarily going to have to worry about, like, you could put all of the, who am I thinking of? Sarah Varon stuff together.
Sure.
But it's not like 6 volumes in a series. It's just 5 or 6 different Sarah Varon books. So at any point you could go, like, okay, these 2 are going to go away, and still have some stuff out there. Or, again, things where instead of a brand new book coming out, it sits on the New This Week section in a completely different room for a week. And then by the time it comes into Sidekicks, it goes spine out on a series of bookshelves and maybe no one ever sees it. This allows a lot of that stuff to be on more of a better merchandise display for a longer period, where maybe it can have a spot on the wall face out for a month or two to maybe drive up some more sales, create some more readers. So that was kind of how I envisioned where stuff was going to go. But once we got all the new hardware into Sidekicks and moved things around, it was still hours of like, okay, but what book specifically?
Yeah.
And it's going through different sections and going, okay, well, this doesn't quite fit here. Okay, now pick more things out of the red bookshelves that weren't on display before because now you've got more display space. So that was a lot of what my day ended up being, was like half actual like building and moving, and then the other half was merchandising, just finding all those things and making sure the rest of the room looked good when it was done.
Looks good, though. Looks real good.
I like it.
One of the problems we've always had with Sidekicks is it's very hard to get it represented in a single photograph.
Plus it's haunted, but no, you're right with your thing too.
You need to, even like I did 2 videos for it, and even those are way too fast, you don't get a good sense for what's on the shelves and what the breakdowns are. And just because of the way the room is laid out, and there's something
to look at everywhere, is both the good and the bad of chronicling it.
So I took 2 videos. One I narrated by the sections, and I'm like, oh, this is way too long. I won't work on Instagram. The other one is just too fast. To get it under a minute, you don't see enough of what it is.
You're like, books.
So I
happy Thanksgiving.
Didn't use either of them.
Oh, that sucks.
But it looks really good. And there a few people said nice things about it today, but for the most part, no one said anything.
They almost never do.
Yeah.
I imagine that mostly we'll hear stuff when regular customers who go to Sidekicks will come in and they will notice the difference. Sometimes the people that you'll see on Black Friday, historically, they might just be people out shopping in the neighborhood,
right? Not
regulars, so they don't know that it changed. They're not equipped to explain how it changed.
And the back issues look great. They look tighter.
They look so good.
And it was a suggestion from Kent to not start them at the top, to leave the top row open, so we can take all the stuff from the top on the top of the shelves and put them on the first row.
Right.
And you have always hated putting things on top of those shelves.
I do.
So this kind of alleviated that. But when we need the space, we can adapt.
It's flexible for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe people buy all those puzzles for people for Christmas, and we'll get that space back.
Good job, Kent.
Thanks, Kent.
Good job. Yeah, that was a very worthwhile way to spend the day.
Yeah,
and it was the second overhaul of Sidekicks in the year, but it was necessary. And we talked about that before anyway. So it's done now, and a photo of it will most likely be the image for this episode. So
you don't want to drastically change the photo with Photoshop just so you're confusing people so that they have to come in and see it, to not give it away like last time?
I mean, I did that. I don't know if anybody... I think 1 or 2 people noticed that the image I used was a terrible layout. Like I had shelves all smushed together, so there's like a middle one that's trapped that you couldn't get to. Yeah, I deliberately changed the layout for the image just so
no one could see it coming.
That's right. And ultimately, it's not that different of a layout, but it's... the one comment that somebody had said today, David Carroll's family, was like, it's so much more open in here.
And the weird thing is, it kind of is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Like, the depth of the bookshelves, the Kallax bookshelves, is kind of the same depth as it used to be.
Yeah.
Not 100%. I mean,
it's real close.
It's pretty close, but it's a little bit less wide, but only a little bit less wide than what it was before. Like, it's not substantially... The middle section is not substantially smaller than it was before.
No, but it's broken up more.
It is, and I think it feels... I don't know why. I wish I could... I think it's because there's... I was going to say there's less objects, but I don't know. It just feels more open in a way that I don't know why it feels that way when it technically isn't. But it does feel more open for sure.
I mean, that's the way I planned it.
You did. It was a good idea.
Thanks. So we will put... I did put up a photo of the back issues and a still from the video as a photo of Sidekicks on social media to show people up, but more like saying, hey, it looks way better than these photos. Come take a look for yourself. Because that is the thing that we can do on social media. We can promote what changes we've made to our store.
Yes.
One of the things we can't do on social media is, for example, I started on posting on Tuesday nights on Instagram a quick video of our new release shelves that just shows all the books and the graphic novels and the action figures or whatever is new that we got for the week on the wall, exactly how they would look when you came into the store Wednesday morning.
So instead of just looking at a text list of what we're getting in, you can actually see, here's all of the stuff.
And you could be like, oh, I didn't want to miss that. I didn't want to do that. And technically we can still do those videos, but not until 10 a.m. Wednesday morning. And that doesn't make sense. What do you mean, you say?
What do I
mean by that? Why can't we do it?
Why can't we do it?
Because it is against the terms of day early pickup from Diamond Comics. And I quote, Diamond day early delivery accounts, and now it's bold, and this is not me, this is them.
The emphasis was theirs, not yours?
Yes. May neither offer for sale nor display any new product before the prevalent local opening time on Wednesday. This includes, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. This includes any unapproved images of physical product or descriptions of content posted on social media or shared in store. Please note, you can still use approved cover images and other graphics from the publisher's or Diamond's Retailer Services website to promote and market new releases to your customers, but actively allowing them to view, look through, or handle physical books is not allowed. So we could download the image of the cover. We can't show you the actual comic book cover.
Right. And I mean, some of that was kind of already conveyed to us when day early delivery started, which is basically like, if you have the stuff in hand, not only can you not sell it, you can't leave it out where people can flip through it. You can't put it on your walls and just tell people, oh, I can't sell you this yet.
Yeah.
Like, we don't put things on the shelves until after we close on Tuesday nights. We don't put comics on the shelves until after we close on Tuesday nights. The spaces are made, everything's ready to go, but we lock the doors and then we put the stuff on the shelves. So, we've always adhered to that, and that's a sensible policy. I mean, you're blurring the lines if you start putting that stuff out, but then telling people, I can't sell it to you.
But we would also, Tuesday nights when reading books, I would occasionally say, hey, here, I'm holding up, these are the books I read. Oh my God, these books are great. Check these out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not necessarily like, oh, here's reviews of everything telling you what's going on. Although, God knows, there's, I'm sure, a million YouTube channels where people are already doing that. But you'd want to do something where it's not just promotional, where it's like, hey, I'm reminding people of what's coming out, but also kind of sharing with customers, hey, this is a book that I didn't think was going to be very good, or I wasn't prepared for it to be as good as it was, and it was great.
I'm excited by this.
Yeah.
You might like it too.
Yeah, just sharing that enthusiasm. And it's the same thing when we're showing everything that came in for the week. I like seeing all that stuff. I like seeing that big wall of like, wow, look at all this amazing stuff that came out this week. The graphic novels and the comics and the toys and whatever else. Like, yeah, just seeing it all is pretty cool and it gets you excited. So the idea that all of that is like verboten, I understand that there are things you could do with each of those that would be detrimental to other people's businesses. And having a zero tolerance policy is probably the safest way to communicate that to your clients. But it strikes me as so stupid. It's a sort of weird embargo that whatever problem you might have is so minor and inconsequential and singular that punishing everybody else and keeping them from being able to sell more product feels like a huge overcorrection.
And what they can do is, if we keep doing it, obviously we're posting everything on the store account so they know who it is.
Right.
We could lose Tuesday pickup.
Yeah, we could get strikes and then we could lose it entirely. And that's obviously
so we'd have to get the books Wednesday morning again.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk as far as like how much it impacts our ability to do business.
Yeah. And Dal had mentioned YouTube channels, and I'm sure they can still keep doing it because they're not like they're just people. They're not the stores themselves.
And that's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying like a store is like, oh, on YouTube every Tuesday night or Monday night showing you everything that's coming out for the week. I mean, there are YouTube personalities who are getting their books Mondays or Tuesdays and spoiling it and doing all of the weird speculator stuff of saying, oh, this happens in this issue, so you better go get it. So, whatever like genie you're trying to put back in the bottle, like. It's already out there. It's people are going to get around it. It's not going to be stores doing it. It's going to be people working with stores. So the store's hands are completely clean. But beyond that, like, there needs to be some sort of consideration for, like, I am trying to sell more products, which is good for me, which is good for the publishers, but it's also good for Diamond, the distributor.
Yeah, it's like when we would try to make signs at Kinko's or FedEx office now, where we would take covers and put the cover images on and be like, hey, these are books shipping in February 2021.
Right.
And they would occasionally say, you don't have the rights to use those images.
Yeah, you have to sign a form saying that if Marvel sues FedEx office for us making the sign, FedEx office is not liable. And it's like, Marvel is not going to sue you for making an 11 by 17 sign that's going to go up inside a comic shop saying these Marvel comics are coming out and you should order them. It is, but again, like FedEx office, no one wants to get sued. No one wants to get in trouble. So they're going to pass the buck or they're going to forbid it just for safety's sake. And it's like, this is all ridiculous.
It's the way that when Marvel has an image to use as a cake topper for their release parties, because they assume people, I guess, get cakes regularly for midnight releases or whatever.
So strange.
They always have a release that you can take to the bakery and say, no, it's okay. You can imprint this image on a cake.
Yeah.
Which I never even thought that was an issue, but I guess it's the same as the regular print shop.
I don't know if it's that so much as like with the cake shops, like a lot of companies have their characters licensed for things like baked goods.
Yeah.
So like if you go to, I don't know, Baskin Robbins or something, they might have like, a Star Wars cake. And they made a deal with Disney to be the people who have Star Wars cakes. So if you go to, a bake shop, they're going to be like, okay, this is someone else's copyright, and I don't know that we can legally make you this cake without getting in trouble. So having a release from Marvel that says, yes, for this one image, for this one client, you can make a Star Wars cake or something. That I can understand where that's coming from, and I, if anything, I like that release exists because it's allowing for, yes, there is a corporate decision that was made to say you can only get our company's cakes from this company, but we will let you do it this other way. Like what Diamond's doing is like the opposite of it, where it's like
no one can do nothing
because someone could use this in a way that would damage a brand. No one's allowed to do anything promotionally, and it's like it's a dumb policy. I can figure out how they got there, and the language of it definitely seems like it's trying to include some potential problem areas, but it's such a massive overcorrection that it's like, why would you not let me say I got this book in, you can buy it tomorrow, come buy it? Like it's such a stupid thing to prohibit. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you've designed a policy where that's prohibited, you have designed a bad policy.
And I know retailers that do lengthy videos going over the new books on Tuesday nights. Like Jen King from Space Cadets Collection has a branded video called Minute to Skim It.
Sure.
Where it's way longer than a minute for the record. Sure. Where she and some of the staff go through books that are coming out the next day that they've already read and said, here's what we like about these books.
I literally have no idea why you would not do that if you had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
We don't do it as much as we probably should have, is the thing. Like, occasionally when we would do that, like, I don't usually post, like, any social media stuff of the books I read on a Tuesday night unless it really jumps out at me or I really think people are going to overlook it. And the times we've done that, and you've done it, we've had people say, oh, I did not realize that was going to be good. Please pull one of those for me tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it does work, and it is a pure positive that we've seen. So, again, it being something that Diamond will not let us do anymore is so strange, and I think definitely needs to be revisited as a policy.
In keeping with that, books that I love this week include Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom was so good.
So good. Christopher Cantwell has such a good take on Doctor Doom's voice. Even though it's deep into a story, it was such a good issue.
It was a really good installment, and I really like the idea of Reed Richards' accidental nemesis. Yeah. I love that so much. I love the idea that Reed's like, why can't Doom and I be friends? And like literally every time
this is why.
Every time Reed interacts with Doom, it's like, do you not know Victor Von Doom at all? Like even a little bit?
Or do you and you're just a giant dick?
Yeah. Are you the villain of the piece?
Yeah.
Is Doom right?
The jury's out on that.
Yeah, Power Pack I thought was excellent this
Power
week.
Pack was so good.
Predisposed to liking Power Pack.
So much fun.
Just from nostalgia's sake alone, I was that book.
Yeah, but you'd also admit if it was
Sure.
it was bad, you wouldn't tell people, but you'd know in your
For
heart.
sure, yeah. But I mean, the baseline for what I'm gonna get out of a Power Pack book that exists in the world is like lowest grade is like a C+. Just because, like, does it have Power Pack in it? Yes. Minimum C+. But having it be Ryan North and Nico Leon elevates the book so much. There's a lot of fun ideas in it. The interplay between the characters is pitch perfect.
You never have to have read a Power Pack book before.
No, especially because you get a recap in the first 4 pages from Power Pack's own Katie Power, who is going to tell you exactly what the history of Power Pack is. Yeah, the whole thing is great, and it also fits into the new Outlawed storyline that Marvel is sort of letting die on the vine.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a teen hero oriented
Civil War.
Not Civil War so much as just an initiative. I mean, I shouldn't say initiative because that's another thing that they did.
Right.
But
I said Civil War just because of the inciting incident.
But what it is, it's not even, like, it is a series, but not all these characters fit into that. It's mostly just, like, a tone for a bunch of those books, a problem for them to deal with. For Power Pack, that doesn't really factor in until the end of the first issue, and the rest of it will be kind of how they interact with that.
Whenever they bring it up, do you read it as Kamala's Law or Kamala's Law?
Well, knowing that it's based on Kamala Khan, it's Kamala's Law.
I know that, and I don't know she's Kamala Khan, but when I see it written,
you think of the vice president.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's Kamala's Law.
That's a problem. Maybe. Well, considering it's a new government policy, I assume that Kamala Harris probably was okay with it.
Yeah,
I guess
that's why it's her law.
But anyway, Power Pack was great. What else came out this week? What was good?
The end of Ten of Swords.
Oh, so good.
Which was
so weird.
The whole series is excellent, and can I get some credit for calling out a major plot point?
You did. Did you come up with that, or did you hear that
somewhere? Oh, no, I came up with that.
Okay, it's good.
Somebody else in the store had come up with the first half,
uh-huh,
and I came up with the second half.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah. I'm on fire.
Yeah, doing pretty good. I hope your AEW Kenny Omega theory is correct.
Oh, gosh.
I hope it is. It's a good one.
Oh, I hope so.
Patrick has a theory for who jumped John Moxley, and it's real good. Ask him about it in the store.
So I called who Kindred was from the beginning. Wasn't super hard. And then I got what was wrong with my car.
Well, you got that when you opened it up and you were pulling a nest out of your engine. That was not a hard guess at that point.
I didn't hear you saying what it was.
There's a body on the floor with a knife stuck in it. I believe this man was stabbed. Oh, okay.
You'd be wrong, though. He actually had cancer.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, yeah, Ten of Swords ended really well. Wonderful changes to the X universe coming up. Such a great... I mean, yeah, just, man. So many moving pieces all fell into place perfectly.
There's a thing that I'm mostly curious about from a retailer level, which is that... So everybody who was down for X-Men, we signed them up for all of the Ten of Swords parts. So even if you weren't down for Excalibur before, you were getting the Excalibur issues, the Marauders issues, the New Mutants issues, and so on. But that was only for the duration of Ten of Swords. Now that that's over, everyone's back to just whatever they were subscribed to before those 22 parts.
Yeah.
I'm curious if we're going to get people who are going to be trying out books that they were already kind of reading for the last 3 months.
Right.
We have not had anyone yet, to my mind. During the event, we had a few people say, yeah, I'm just going to start getting like Excalibur and Marauders now. But I thought we would maybe get a few more people, and maybe it'll happen when those issues come out, saying, yeah, I want to start getting Excalibur. I want to see where the rest of the story goes. Because Ten of Swords, more than anything, was an Excalibur event. Some of the biggest changes were for Excalibur. So yeah, curious if that's going to be something.
I almost felt like the handful of people who are like, I don't want anything else except the books I was already getting, X-related. Sure. I kind of feel like Destruction is a book they should get anyway.
There was one person specifically who said, I only want the books I get and the one-shots. So they got their regular stuff, and
That's smart.
And they got the first, smart. Middle, and final chapter.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah, but I feel like telling people like Bob, hey, you should read this last part.
I also want to say you should read the X-Men that was chapter 21 because it's phenomenally good.
Yeah.
And hugely relevant to the next year's worth of stories for that book. But then on top of that, like I also...
It was... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 21 was X-Men.
I thought it was
Wasn't
no, it was 20.
Was 20 X-Men?
And then Excalibur, and then
I thought it was Excalibur, then X-Men, then the other one. But
No.
maybe I'm... Okay. There's a spinner I could probably just look at
you
it.
can't. They're all gone. They're all red.
And then it also...
They moved.
I'd
They're
also
out.
want to call out the final chapter from the week before, the Gorgon fight one,
Oh, man.
because that's just real
so
good. Just how they did the scorekeeping for it, because I think not everyone, but a lot of people I talked to were like, well, they're going to get the swords and then they're all going to sword fight, like to the death, and that's the battle. And it's like, it was so much weirder than that. And when they started doing these like
weirder.
rapid fire like contests, it's like, how many of these are you going to do? And the answer was a lot, a whole lot. So you could have the X-Men lose some, and this, not to bring this back to wrestling for a second, but it's one of the reasons I wish AEW would do a G1 Climax style tournament, where it's not just like a single elimination thing, where when you look at the brackets, you're like, well, Kenny Omega's going to win one side of the bracket, and Hangman's going to win the other side of the bracket, because that needs to be your final match, or what is the point of this? You know, having your final match be Rey Fenix versus Colt Cabana is like, I mean, a fun match, but that's not a pay-per-view. But when you do like a point-oriented thing where, you know, it's Swiss-style tournament stuff where you're more just like, you face a bunch of people and then wins and losses count, and then by the end of that bracket, you're like, whoever has more wins progresses to the next stage.
And they almost always do it where the favored people lose often in the beginning.
Sure.
But
So there's
you
a
can do
sense
that.
of drama
So,
to
yeah,
it.
and so when they can catch up.
Or you can even do things where, like, someone comes in and they go undefeated, and as they get closer to the end of the tournament, you know they're going to make it to the finals, but you don't know if they're going to, you know, get the record they want or whatever. So, yeah, Ten of Swords, loved how it was constructed. I told people that it was, I think it was near the end of the first month where I ordered the hardcover.
Yeah, I don't know that we ordered enough hardcovers for the store.
I think I upped them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely one where when Marvel offered it, I think the hardcover was $100. When they offered it, I'm like, I don't know, because at the time it was really hard to tell what the book was going to be and what
Right.
the story was going to be about. And the first few weeks were kind of weird because it was a lot of these weird disconnected, like Storm goes to Wakanda and steals a sword. You know, Cypher trains to be a swordsman because he has no idea how to do that. But when you got into the actual, like, the second month, it's like, what is going on? And that's when it really clicked for me. So yeah, I really love Ten of Swords. I thought it was pretty fantastic, and certainly shows that even a year on, the X-Men franchise is still the best thing Marvel has going for it.
Still in good hands.
I read some preview comic books today.
Okay.
Image had sent us earlier in the week PDFs of most of their new releases for February.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't send us the new Mirka Andolfo written book because that was not ready to go yet, I guess.
Okay.
But they sent us the first 2 issues of Stray Dogs,
Yeah.
the already optioned for a movie.
Yeah.
Dogs Solve a Murder Mystery book, and the first 2 issues of Radiant Black,
Yeah.
the Kyle Higgins
That we talked about last week.
slightly grown up Power Rangers book. So I read all 4 of those today,
Yeah.
which I usually don't read the second issues when they give them to us. But honestly, I read both first issues, and I'm like, I could do another one of these today. Radiant Black is real good. The art is the artist is clearly trying to do like a Cory Walker, Ryan Otley sort of thing.
Okay.
There's a couple headshots where I'm like, this looks like I read this in an issue of Invincible. I think you're maybe tracing some of these, but maybe it could just be someone who's using it more as a style guide, because it's really a lot of what Kyle Higgins' tone is this sort of young adult, someone who is not even from Invincible per se, but like the level it's hitting at is that superhero thing, but kind of grounded a little bit more real world, a little bit more finding your place in the world. And I mean, it's set in Lockport and Chicago, so that's pretty fun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kyle's from Lockport, so he kind of built that into the book, the idea of the small town near Chicago and kind of how that changes things. I like the first 2 issues. I thought they were good. It's very superhero-y. If you're looking at it thinking it's going to be like a sci-fi thing, like, it's pretty superhero-y. So if you want that, great. If you don't want that, maybe not the book for you. The Sentai Power Ranger stuff is a little light so far, but you can kind of see where it's going by the end of issue 1. But I think they're going to let it build up slower. So if you're expecting this to be a full, like, Power Ranger style team book in issue 1, it's it's more about one character and sort of building the world around him. Stray Dogs, I thought, was actually really good.
Really?
Really good,
Oh,
yes.
man. Everything about it said to me, don't read this.
I would give it a read. I think it's got a clever take. It does some pretty interesting stuff. It's very much like Beasts of Burden, except they're in a serial killer movie. Like,
All right. I'll read them.
it's I thought the art was really good, and the characters were interesting, and the kind of like the mechanics of the mystery and how the characters are equipped to deal with it, I thought was very clever. And just as a kind of, a thriller kind of book, I thought it was great. I thought Stray Dogs was really good. I feel like that's going to be... I wish they weren't pushing it as much on the, it's going to be a movie speculator bullshit, because I think it's the sort of book that you could put in a bunch of people's hands and they would really dig it. That's one that I think we should order up on. But I think they're both supported by Image's first issue overship or return policies.
I mean, have we even ordered them at all yet?
No, they're in the new catalog.
Yeah. So, no worries there.
I was just mentioning it to you. As you eventually
okay.
start the catalog,
I see.
Stray Dogs is maybe the one both of them I would order heavy on because they're returnable, but Stray Dogs, if you were planning on ordering a few because you didn't like the look of it, I would say you should order more.
Plus, it's like that old Brian Setzer song, Stray Dogs. Stray dog strut, I'm a stray dog.
That is...
I'm a Bow Wow Casanova. Hey, man, that's right.
They sing that in the book.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. It's pages 2 through 17 is them singing that song. Is that...
Got the shoe thrown at me from a mean old man. Get my dinner from a garbage can.
Mm-hmm.
Stray dog strut.
Yeah. They do a whole dance routine and everything.
The final thing for this week, and we're just going to gloss over it because it is a thing that may happen.
Okay.
And if it does happen, it's wonderful for us, which is a weird thing to say because that's not what we talk about in the comics industry because things don't usually benefit us. And this is that Viacom CBS has agreed to sell Simon & Schuster to Penguin Random House. Wow, look at that. Dal was stunned by that news.
Stunned rigid.
He can't believe it.
Penguin Random House is where we get a lot of our graphic novels from now, and Simon & Schuster is a company that has the distribution rights for a bunch of different comics publishers, and I think we don't have an account with them. We may, but we don't maybe have an active one? I don't know.
Didn't, I don't know.
We haven't really investigated it a lot, but certainly having everything under Penguin Random House, who we are doing a lot of business with currently because they have DC Comics, they have Dark Horse, they have Kodansha, they have Nobrow, they have a few other publishers. But them also having things like Viz and Oni and Boom would be great.
Yeah. We would have Something is Killing the Children Volume 1 in stock.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That would be great. So yeah, that's something that I assume that Penguin Random House will let us know when that becomes something that...
Well, I mean, it's got to go through its hearings and
Oh,
whatnot.
it's a whole regulatory process.
Right, and it does seem a little more antitrusty than
But Penguin Random House said that their lawyers didn't think it would be a problem. So that's just the same thing as it not being a problem.
That's
right?
true. That's true. Let's hope it goes that way. Although lately every Penguin Random House shipment we get has
a bunch of weird damages.
A bunch of damages in it. Well, not weird damages, the same damages.
Was that this week too?
Oh yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. Including a book that was a special order for a club member.
Ah, great.
Yeah, so
great.
I reported it, but it's up to you to decide, do we wait or send them this one?
I'd have to look.
That's what I mean.
I mean, it depends on the customer. It depends on whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, not fun. They're not packed very well.
That's a shame.
Increasingly, and it's all. I mean,
the good
whatever.
news is they are pretty easy to deal with when it comes to damages.
They are. It's
mostly because they probably have to be.
Well, it's super weird to me because they have an online system in place where you just go into the invoice, click the books that are the issue, and then click like, "Hey, I want this replaced," or "I just want the credit," or
Which
whatever.
is similar to how Diamond does it when we receive a Diamond order.
Now, yeah. But our rep is like, "Oh no, you should just email me." So that's extra work because I have to type out all the ISBN numbers and all that stuff.
Well, it's great that we have a rep. The amount of things that we have to do through our rep instead of doing it through any sort of automated process is a little frustrating.
A little frustrating. And also, I have yet to understand their billing. I mean, I understand it in theory, but it just hurts my head every week because we place one order but get up to 4 charges.
Yep. At different times,
Yeah.
different amounts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then some of them drop off and are replaced by a slightly smaller one. But it's like
So confusing.
Yeah, so it's a learning process, but that would be a very interesting thing. It would be an easier thing for us to bring things more under one roof now that we are forced to use Penguin Random House for DC books.
Speaking of distributors, did we get that Ingram order today?
We did.
Okay.
Which is why anybody who's looking for a wonderful, almost non-comic related book for a Christmas present, The Young Bucks, Killing the Business, the autobiography from Matt and Nick Jackson, The Young Bucks.
The Young Bucks.
Yeah. It's not a comic at all. It's just a biography.
Yeah, but I
we
mean,
have it.
as for a podcast that had just spent a bunch of time talking about AEW, and the amount of people that come into the store that are either lapsed or new wrestling fans that are into AEW, I think it's pretty cool. I plan on reading it at some point.
Yeah.
Like not today, but soon.
I mean, I have one on my bedside table right now.
I've read wrestler autobiographies before. I'm sure I could stand to read another one.
Sure. So we have that. That was in the Ingram order.
Nice. Yeah, I ordered a bunch more. We had talked about it as a, like, you had ordered a copy from Ingram for yourself because it's a book you wanted to read, but it's like, I think we could move a few of these.
Sure.
Especially because, with holiday shopping being so weird as far as, like, different stores' operating procedures and how reluctant some people are to leave the house. Like, if we could combine stuff, like if we could have a thing in the store where it's like, oh, now I don't have to go to Barnes & Noble to get the Young Bucks book or whatever in the romance section.
And where, as you would find it, yes.
I guess we should...
Yes. Drama, because we don't have romance.
Okay, well, but I mean, that's the thing. Like, if we don't... Manga? Should it go in manga?
No drama.
They wrestled in New Japan.
Okay.
Go in the manga section. Inside Kicks.
You can find out where it is when you come in. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.